All content is publicly sourced and used under the USA Fair Use and UK Fair Dealing Guidelines. The things I say are strictly my opinion. Good evening, everyone. It's the Bizzy Bee with the royalty. It is the 29th of September. Wanted to say happy birthday to my little girl, Valerie. It is her birthday. She was born a few years ago on today's date. Because I'm a gentleman, I won't reveal her exact age. And besides that, she's sitting right here, and she would be very upset if I did. Speaking of the birthday girl, a couple of more pics of her. Last night I dropped a gummy bear. I've been eating some gummy bears, and she got the one I dropped before I could get it back from her, and she got it stuck in her teeth. Look at this. She's trying so hard to chew it to get it out, but she just could not seem to. Okay, anyway. So I have something I want to discuss with all of you today. It's like if you repeat anything Smeg says, she's going to turn you into an absolute liar. I'll get into that in just a moment. But somebody asked me if I could post the recipe for the meat pies I made. And yeah, those tops were a little thick. I didn't roll the dough as thin as I should have. But yeah, here's the recipe. Pause it if you want. Just one note, instead of the ground pork that it says for the filling, I used a pound of ground beef. But switch it out, use whatever you want. Make it your own. Thank you to the patrons, Kim and Christine D, very much. And thank you to Yvonne D for the lovely tip on PayPal. I truly appreciate it. Let's dive into today's episode of As the Stomach Turns, the adventures of the Harkles. It looks like Smegs is cold calling Americans, urging them to vote, according to Gloria Steinem. Smegs has been cold calling Americans to urge them to vote in November, famed feminist Gloria Steinem has revealed. Steinem said the nothing of nowhere recently moved to LA with her royal husband, the Prince Harry, and their young son, Archofficial, so she could participate in November's presidential election, and has been active both in front of and behind the cameras to help elect Democrat Joe Biden and his vice presidential running mate, Kamala Harris. Myrtle came home to vote, Steinem told TV's Access Hollywood in an online video posted Sunday, noting the pair have met up at the women's rights leader's house. And the first thing we did, and why she came to see me, was we sat at the dining room table here, where I am right now, and cold called voters, and said, "Hello, I'm Smegs," and "Hello, I'm Gloria. Are you going to vote?" That was her initiative, Steinem said. She is such an inspiration to me. Oh, dear. An inspiration. Okay. Miss Steinem, you've been around for much longer than I have, and you're saying that Smegs is an inspiration to you? I've met more interesting people and people who are more of an inspiration walking down the street today than Smegs. Come on, lady. Gloria Steinem is obviously trying to keep her name relevant by jumping onto the Harkle bandwagon. That's the only reason. I wanted to break down a couple of things that she said in here. She said that Meghan moved back to the States to vote. Okay, that is completely inaccurate. If you are a U.S. citizen and you live abroad, you do not have to come back to the United States to vote. You can vote absentee. And I did do my research to look this up. Take a look at this. This is from the U.S. Department of State's website, absentee voting information for U.S. citizens abroad. Look at this, voting eligibility. Most U.S. citizens 18 or older who live outside the U.S. are eligible to vote absentee for federal office candidates in U.S. primary and general elections. There you go. The election we're having this November is a general election where we're electing the President of the United States. In addition, some states allow overseas citizens to vote for state and local office candidates in referendums. Smegs did not have to move back to the United States, Miss Steinem. just to vote. If that's what she told you, she is lying. So when you repeat what Smegs says, she is turning you into a liar unknowingly. You might want to do a little bit of fact checking before you go on TV and repeat what Smegs says. All I had to do was go on Google and type, "Can a U.S. citizen who lives abroad vote?" And that was, I believe it was the second search thing that came up. So not very hard to verify Miss Steinem, but again, she's trying to keep her name relevant by hitching onto the Harkle bandwagon. Let's continue. Access host Surrey Hall laughed and quipped the Markle voting anecdote. Of course, Ms. Hall laughed. I mean, you can't help but laugh at anything that Smeg says, right? If people weren't hitting the polls before, I bet you they were after that call. Yeah. Now, let me just finish with this other thing that Ms. Steinem had to say. They're cold calling voters at Gloria Steinem's house. Well, let me tell you guys something. Years ago, I worked for a telemarketing company. We had to call different businesses and then we would call different people, try to get them to take this credit card or that credit card. I mean, this was years ago, okay? And I know for a fact that when you're cold calling people, you have to go to a company and buy a list of people to cold call. Otherwise, what are you going to do? Just make up a phone number? Let's see, the Hollywood area code, and we'll just dial that first, and then a number that anything that comes into our head. Somebody answers, asks, no, you don't do it that way. You have to buy a list of a cold call list from a company that sells those kind of things, and then you call them. And what phone are they calling them from? Does Smegs call them from her personal cell phone and Gloria Steinem from hers? Oh, hi, I'm Smegs Harkle. I'm calling you to see if you're voting. Oh, look, honey, I've got Smegs Harkle's cell phone number right here. Or, oh, look, I've got Gloria Steinem. She called me. What number are they calling these people from? Do they have little burner phones like they did in The Sopranos to make these telephone calls? Come on. We're supposed to believe anything that these people tell us. And I guess Gloria Steinem has drank so much of the Harkle Kool-Aid, she's willing to go out there and preach the wonderfulness that is Smegs Harkle, right? She's such an inspiration to me. Such an inspiration. Megan is everything that Gloria Steinem is against, is she not? She got to where she is now by dating all the right men, and I'm being nice by saying dating. We know she didn't date them per se, just for one night, if you can call that dating. But and then she married some British prince to become world famous. This is what Gloria Steinem finds such an inspiration. Someone who got to where they are by dating and marrying the right men, conniving, social climbing, grifting, the feminist, activist, Gloria Steinem. This is what she finds an inspiration. Makes me utterly sick. Let's finish. You know, for me, being biracial growing up, whether it was a doll or a person in office, you need to see someone who looks like you in some capacity, Mrs. Harkle said. Well, she's got the doll, she's got Archofficial, and I guess she could pay extra to get the face to look like her. I don't know. I've never purchased a rubber doll before. A few comments from the last video about the Harkles embarrassing themselves. Not very hard to do these days. They can't keep their mouth shut. Bishop Curry makes me want to leave the Episcopal Church. Creepy man. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the video, what this person is commenting about. Bishop Curry said that the royal family didn't have to say anything during his sermon at the Harkle wedding. He could see the amens by looking in their eyes. And he also said that he could hear the voices of slaves that had been dead over 100 years at the Harkle wedding. Well, you see what I wrote here? I wrote King James I because in the year 1597, King James I wrote a miniature book. I don't mean a tiny book, I mean like a pamphlet type thing called Demonology. James I believed that the practice of witchcraft was the greatest threat to England during his reign. Yes, he was a very forward-thinking man. Back then, that was very forward-thinking. They really did think that was a threat. Anyway, so back in James the First day, Bishop Curry would have been tried and most likely executed for the practice of witchcraft and sorcery for saying that he could hear voices and look in the royal family's eyes and hear their thoughts. And Smegs would have been tried and convicted as well because guilt by association, remember, she would have been the one that introduced him to the royal family, so they would have thrown her and tried her for witchcraft as well. Or Anne Boleyn, when she fell, they rounded up everybody who was associated with her, all those men. Yeah, they didn't ask any questions. She would have been gone also. Moving on. Remember that Disney stated after the elephant voiceover flop that the company had no plans to use megxit again. I must be insane. I brag about how cheaply I've gotten something. If she does run for president, they will dig up everything in her past. Everything. I give them a $5 to shut up. Might go to 10. Apparently, they have agreed to a reality show where the cameras follow them around for 3 months. So much for privacy, but probably another win for the Daily Mail in their privacy court case. She'd be qualified to crest custom knee pads. Waterproof, of course. What have we learned today? Number 1, Valerie might be creeping up on middle age, but she is still only 1/7 as old as Smegs. Number 2, repeat anything Smeg-a says, and you unknowingly make yourself a liar. Well, after this point, you can't really say it's unknowingly. You'll know you were a liar. Number 3, if this were the late 16th century, Bishop Curry would be burned for the practice of witchcraft, and Smegzilla would be guilty by association. Number 4. Disney, like everyone else who has used Smegs once, has no plans to call her again. Number 5. Some people brag about how cheap they get things, while Mrs. Harkle is just a cheap brag. Number 6. There is not enough ink to print all the dirty laundry that will be dug up when Meg-a runs for office. The names of her exes alone would be like the Vietnam War Memorial in Washington, D.C. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the Vietnam War Memorial, this is it in Washington. And it has the names of all the American troops who died in the Vietnam War. You see that? It fits a lot of names on it. That would be the list of Smegs' previous bows. Okay, where were we? Number 7. Someone is willing to pay Megasaurus to close her mouth for a change. Number 8. Mimi already did a reality show. At least there was a camera in her bedroom. Number 9. That Harkle woman could come out with her own line of knee pads for the working girl who does a lot of gardening. Oh, is that what they're calling it these days? If you would like to send love notes, tokens of appreciation, or toys and treats for Valerie, Myrtle, Gemma, and Edward, this is the P.O. Box address. Oh, and I meant to say, if gardening is what they're calling it these days, you know, it does give a whole different meaning to trimming the hedges, does it not? This is their pictures. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit that notification button. I will see you all in the next one. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye-bye.